Commanders are sitting at 4-6 with just 8 weeks left to go in the 2023 NFL season. So what is their path to the playoffs? I'm going to be breaking down today what the Commanders need to do if they want to make the postseason here in 2023. But before I break down the Commanders' playoff path here for the rest of the 2023 campaign, kick us off today by clicking that thumbs up icon and liking today's video. The reason why that we ask you guys to click that thumbs up icon if you're a real one is because it tells the YouTube algorithm to push this video out to other Commanders fans like yourselves. Helps us grow. It's absolutely free of charge to do so. So if you're feeling generous today, click that thumbs up icon and like today's video. All right, so let's start with the NFC East here, because it doesn't necessarily seem like the Commanders have really any shot of catching up to the Eagles to take the NFC East crown this year. Of course, the Eagles have the best record in football right now, sitting at 8-1. They do have a tough matchup against the Chiefs this weekend, though, so keep that in mind. Then you got the Dallas Cowboys sitting at 6-3, firmly planted in the NFC playoff picture as a wild card. Then you got Washington at 4-6, and then you got this week's opponent in the New York Giants sitting at 2-8. In my opinion, the worst team in the National Football League as it stands today. So you take a look at the NFC playoff picture, and it definitely seems like Washington is going to have to try to vie for a wild card spot. So right now, the Eagles, Lions, 49ers, and Saints are the division winners, and the Seattle Seahawks, Dallas Cowboys, and Minnesota Vikings are all sitting at the wild card spots. Right now, the next team in the hunt is 4-5, so there's a little bit of a cushion here between those wild card teams and kind of the people or kind of the teams that are hanging on. Tampa Bay's at 4-5. Commanders and the Falcons are at 4-6. Green Bay and Los Angeles really hanging on by a thread here at 3-6. So Washington definitely has an uphill battle here. So when it comes to the NFC playoff picture here and what the Commanders fans need to be rooting for this week, these are the games and the teams that you need to be rooting for. Of course, you got to cheer for the Commanders to beat the Giants. If you lose this week to the worst team in football and you get swept by them, of all things, your season's done. I think Rivera is fired if you lose to the Giants. Then you got to be rooting for the Rams to beat the Seahawks. You're going to have to be rooting for the Broncos to beat the Vikings on Sunday Night Football. You're going to have to be rooting for the 49ers to take out the 4-5 Buccaneers. And then you want the Panthers, of course, to beat the Cowboys and the Chiefs to beat the Eagles, because you know what? We hate the Cowboys. We hate the Eagles. We want them to lose. All right, so still to come here on the show, I'm going to be breaking down Washington's path to the playoffs here to get one of those wild card spots and save Ron Rivera's job, because I really do think he needs to get this team to the postseason if he wants to be the head coach of this team moving forward. And then also I got my final 2023 season predictions, final record predictions. I got some additional little predictions to share with you guys here at the end of today's show, so make sure you guys stick around. But first, I want to tell you about today's sponsor at Prize Picks. And let me tell you guys, man, ever since we started partnering with Prize Picks here at Chat Sports, I have not been able to put this app down. I absolutely love using it. Producer Smitty is a freaking pro at it. He's making a ton of money with it, and you could as well if you know ball. So if you know ball, check us out right now at prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100 today. What Prize Picks is that it's a daily fantasy sports game that is skill-based and deals with real money. You might be asking yourselves, how does this thing work, Jack? Well, here's how. You pick 2 to 6 players, and if they'll go for more or less than their Prize Picks projection. Let's take a look at my picks for Monday Night Football between the Buffalo Bills and the Denver Broncos last night. So this just to show you guys how it kind of works. So I went rush yards with Josh Allen. I took the more. I hit that one. Then I had the James Cook rushing yards. I took the less. Unfortunately, didn't quite get that one. Then you got Stephon Diggs with the more receiving yards. So you can kind of see how it works. You got a stat category, and it gives you a choice between more or less. You pick 2 to 6 players and whether they'll go more or less than that projection. And if you know ball, you can absolutely make money with Prize Picks today. So check it out now at prizepicks.com/CLNS and use our code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100 today. With Prize Picks, it takes less than 60 seconds to make your picks. So get started right now before football starts again here on Thursday with Ravens versus Bengals. Go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use our code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. That's code CLNS at prizepicks.com/CLNS for a deposit match up to $100 today. So the way that I see it right now, sitting at 4-6, I really do think that because the NFC is a little bit lower on the ranks right now in terms of AFC, NFC dynamic, I really do think if the Commanders can just get to 9-8, their playoff hopes will definitely still be in play. The only problem is you're going to have to go 5-2 over their next 7 games over these next 8 weeks to get to that point at 9-8. So really, when I look at the Commanders' schedule, there's 3 games that you absolutely have to win. All right, you got to beat the Giants at home this week here in Week 11. Then you fast forward to weeks 15 and 16, 2 road matchups, one against the Rams, one against the Jets. In my opinion, right now, you got to win those 2 games as well. You get there, and you have a baseline here that's going to put you in position to potentially make a playoff run. And you get these 4 matchups here against these kind of tougher opponents. And if you can win all 3 of those must-win games, plus 2 of these games, that gets you to 5-2 the rest of the way, and it gets you to 9-8, which will give you a shot for the playoffs. Now, it's going to be tough, right? The Cowboys are playing good football right now. It's going to be tough to beat them on Thanksgiving because they seem to never lose at home. But, you got that game in Week 18 at FedEx Field. That could be for the season. I think the Commanders are really going to be playing hard to get themselves into the playoffs. Then also the game that I'm going to be looking out for big time, because I don't think the 49ers game is particularly going to be one that's realistic for the Washington Commanders. I think the 49ers are just too damn good to realistically say they could win that game. Who knows? Maybe they shock the world. But I really do think this game against the Dolphins is going to be an interesting one to watch. The Dolphins are a warm weather team coming to Washington, to FedEx Field in early December. It's going to be cold. They're going to be uncomfortable. Washington is going to be more accustomed to the elements. And I think that could be a potential opportunity to walk away with an upset. So even if you don't come away with the win on Thanksgiving against the Cowboys, you could still nab a really nice win against the Miami Dolphins the following week, heading into the bye, and put yourself in a position to make a run towards the end of the season. Now, I do think I understand the realities on the ground, right? The Commanders are at 4-6. They do have to go 5-2, and they have to be a pretty darn good football team from here on out to even have a shot to get in. So I get that it's still pretty much a long shot at this point, but a path is still there for the Commanders, all right? And I really don't think they're going to move off of Ron Rivera until that path is kind of taken away. Now, if they lose to the Giants this week and you go to 4-7, yeah, I think they're probably going to go with Eric Bieniemy as the head coach for the rest of the way and see what they have in them. But at the end of the day, man, you just got to start winning football games at this point. The good news is that the Commanders still could do that. Now, let me know down there in the comments section, what say you here? Do you think the Commanders season is over, or do you think that there's still a chance? Lloyd Christmas, man, so you're saying there's a chance, Jack. Let me know what you guys think down there in the comments section. Type O if you think the season's over, but if you think the Commanders are still alive, type A down there in the comments. So now some final season predictions. I'm going to project that the Commanders finish 7-10 at this point. That's going to be 3 wins to 4 losses the rest of the way. I think that Sam Howell is going to continue to play pretty decently. I think that the defense is going to continue to struggle without Chase Young or Montez Sweat on the field. And some of those tougher opponents, games against the Cowboys, games against the 49ers, games against the Dolphins, some of those games are going to be tough wins. And then some of those games that you should win against the Rams, against the Jets, I can't say I'm fully confident in them to win those ones. So I do think you'll win against the Giants. But overall, for the rest of the way, I don't see the Commanders really competing for a playoff spot, which means, of course, that Ron Rivera is going to get fired. And I'm actually going to predict that he's going to get fired after Week 15, a loss to the Los Angeles Rams at SoFi Stadium. At that point, the season's going to be over. I think that this front office and this new ownership group is going to want to see what this team does with Eric Bieniemy as the interim head coach for the last couple of weeks to try to make a decision on if he could potentially be the next head coach of the Washington Commanders. And you know what? I'm rooting for Eric Bieniemy. I'm rooting for this guy because he deserves an opportunity. I think that he has really been given lemonade or given lemons this year with this offensive line, right? Given a second-year quarterback that was drafted in the 5th round last year that only had 1 NFL career start. And not only has he turned that quarterback into a bona fide franchise guy here in Sam Howell, but this offense is definitely the best portion of this Commanders team right now. This passing attack is legit. Sam Howell's very comfortable operating in it. And if these owners are looking for an offensive-minded head coach, and that's where I think that they're going, and they want somebody that Sam Howell's going to be extremely comfortable in his offense, I mean, we already know that Sam Howell is comfortable in this offense. You put Eric Bieniemy in as your head coach moving into the future. You got all this cap space and draft capital to build the offensive line to protect him moving forward, to build up this defense. And listen, I think Eric Bieniemy, I like his approach to the game. I like that he gets after these guys. I like his hard-nosed, old-school approach where people really do respect him in the building, I think. And I think he'd be a really nice head coach in this league. I think he deserves an opportunity. But let me know what you guys think about EB down there in the comments. Will he be the Commanders' head coach in 2024? Predict it for me. Type yes or no down there in the comments section. Well, that'll be it for today's show, guys. Really do appreciate all of your support. Make sure you click that subscribe button right now for all of our Commanders content leading up to Sunday's matchup versus the New York Giants.